and on the 18th of October 2021. This is your news tonight, and I'm Patricia Lokoma Mfango. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, through the headlines, Land Minister Judith Nabakoba refutes media claims on Uganda Land Commission officials. And about bail, Emeritus Justice George Kanyehamba threatens to sue government. And on the international scene, former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell dies of COVID-19 complications. And in sports, Pilsner Lager injects $1 billion to boost the league. News Tonight begins. President Yoweri Museveni and the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports Janet Kataha Museveni have received the Pope and the Patriarch of Alexandria and all Africa, his Beatitude Theodorus II, who paid a courtesy call on him at State House Entebbe. The visiting Beatitude is in the country to condole with the people of Uganda and the followers of the Orthodox Church upon the death of late Archbishop Yona Luanga. His Beatitude was accompanied by a delegation of bishops who included His Eminence Metropolitan Macarius, and then the Archbishop of Nairobi in Kenya, His Eminence Innocentius Byakatonda, the Archbishop of Burundi and Rwanda, His Grace Neophytus Kongoe, the Archbishop of Nyeri and Mount Kenya, His Grace Silvestros Kisitu, the Bishop of Gulu and Eastern Uganda, Cheriton, and then the Patriarch of Vicar Diocese of Goma in DR Congo. Others were Reverend Father Emmanuel Mbarire, the priest from Athens, Greece, Reverend Father Paul Mutasa, Vicar Molitopolisis of Kampala, and Honorable Theodorus Sechikubo, the Chairperson, Development Commission of the Orthodox Church. The Beatitude Theodorus II told President Museveni that the history of the Orthodox Church, whose followers are estimated to be over 350 million worldwide, has a journey. The Orthodox Pope, who has been in Uganda 6 times, expressed his love for the country, pointing out that the mission of the Orthodox Church in Africa starts in Uganda. Now, Ugandans living in the United States of America have celebrated Uganda's independence at a colorful function held at Uganda's embassy in Washington. In attendance was the chief guest, Ms. Chindi Belden, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for African Affairs at the Pentagon House, and then speaking at the function held at Bethesda North Marriott Hotel and Conference Center, Washington, D.C., Uganda's ambassador to the USA, His Excellency Molsebuja Katende, congratulated all Ugandans and thanked friends of Uganda who sent messages of friendship and solidarity. Among them were reassuring congratulatory messages by President Biden to President Museveni and by Secretary of State Antony Blinken to the people of Uganda. Ambassador Katende also revealed that the embassy received solidarity messages from heads of state and government of other countries of accreditation like Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Jamaica, and Mexico.
And implement credentials on democracy, good governance, and human rights. I wish to assure all those concerned that these are tenets so dear to the government of Uganda. In fact, it is in defense of those tenets that the NRM government came to power, so that the people of Uganda elect their preferred leaders and are governed in accordance with the law, as well as enjoy their human rights and other freedoms in an atmosphere of tranquility. We cannot claim 100% perfection, for no country can claim that. However, government remains ready to keep evolving in to keep improving to higher levels of advancing those tenets, and we welcome USA's readiness to continue working with us in this endeavor. Lastly, to my compatriots, the Ugandan diaspora and the Ugandan leaders, some of them are here. I issued a separate message to them on the exact day of our independence anniversary, on October 9th, 2021. In that message, firstly, I assured them of the embassy's cooperation to serve them in the various ways, including in the provision of consular and immigration services. Secondly, I appealed to them to always remain good citizens and live productive lives in their country of residence and country of origin. Thirdly, I advised them to avoid being over-involved or associated with matters of no achievable objectives.
Well, amazing. Those are Ugandans. They are in the USA celebrating the Independence Day of Uganda. Now, with IGG, the Inspector General of Government, Betty Olive Kamya, has appealed to Parliament to set up an independent committee to handle reports from IGG's office if corruption is to be eliminated in government institutions. Kamya said during an interface with the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, and this happened early Monday today. Let's hear the details.
By law, by the Constitution, the Inspectorate of Government is supposed to table before Parliament two reports a report every 6 months.
As corruption remains a challenge, especially in government institutions, the IGG, Betty Olive Namisango Kamya, has accused Parliament of equally not playing its part in fight against graft. Meeting the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, Kamya says it's over 3 years, reports are taken to Parliament, but are never handled by parliamentarians.
There's an accumulation of recommendations, of frustrations, of things we need to do, but we don't do.
However, she appealed to Parliament to pay much attention to reports from the Inspectorate to ease its work in fight against corruption.
To create a special committee to look in the reports of the Inspector General of Government and then work together to fight corruption.
Responding to her, Speaker Olanya pledged to set up a committee handling reports in a period he didn't disclose.
A stronger case has got to be made for the establishment of a select committee to deal with this, because we have not yet even given the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee the challenge to report. And the next set of reports that will come, we'll submit to them, and I'll give them a clear timeline, because we want what the Inspectorate is saying to be discussed by Parliament.
Olanya agrees that corruption in government institutions remains at a high rate comparing to private, and pledges support to IGG in fight against it.
And these cases are so many and so severe. They've destroyed people's lives. And they come to you after prayer to God, that God help me. May the Honorable IGG solve this matter for me.
Betty Kamya to meet Speaker, it comes at a time approaching almost 5 years since Inspectorate taking reports to Parliament but are not tabled before the session. Lydia Chomkama, Andrew Sebida, UBC News.
Now, Minister for Lands Judith Nabakova has refuted media claims that she was a mastermind behind the suspension of Uganda Land Commission's officials. Nabakova notes that her intervention follows a petition from the commissioner's staff who were unhappy with the decision by the chairperson to carry out investigations into the office.
Last week, media reports indicated that the Minister for Lands, Judith Nabakova, had suspended staff, commissioners and chairperson of the Uganda Land Commission. The alleged suspended officials even questioned her powers to make such a decision. Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakova, has, however, responded to the reports.
Of course, they have been saying, I cannot take over, but I guided. I guided as a minister responsible for Ministry of Lands. If I see confusion, I cannot leave confusion to continue. I have to guide as a minister who is leading the ministry, and that's why I guided.
As a line minister, she has defended her action.
If they are bickering around, conflicting, not agreeing, and we think that they are going to take the right decisions. So that's why I want investigations to be done. We get the reports good enough. IGG and police promised that they would be faster and give me their reports. And basing on those reports, then we can decide on the way forward.
But for powers to suspend the commission and staff bases on Section 55 of the Land Act.
Because they were thinking, is she going to give the lease? Is she the one to handle the land fund? Me, I'm not bothered about those activities. What I want is orderliness in ULC. Whether leases or what they can hold on, not until we get some sanity in ULC.
Police has also responded on the matter.
Investigating some fraud in a land commission, and we have recorded several statements. We have retrieved documents of evidential value. The investigation is still young, it's at a preliminary stage, but we undertake to investigate it to the latter.
Minister Judith Nabakova made these clarifications while on a land dispute tour of Mityana North constituency in Mityana district.
Kati ndi mbweralikirivu ekibanja kirabika kigenze ate yakimpa
N'olwekyo mutuyambe muleme kuteeka mikono ku biwandiiko bw'oba owulira nga toli mu mativu, bw'oba owulira nga tokkiriziganyizza n'ebyo bye bagamba toguteekako.
She however maintained that tenants and residents need to come as the process of satisfying the initial landowner of the contested land takes effect. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
In the area of vaccination, truck drivers want the Ugandan government to revise the policy of testing for COVID-19 at border points, which they think has been overtaken by events. Long-distance drivers believe those fully vaccinated should be using their vaccination cards as pass cards than testing for COVID-19 in 14 days. Let's hear more in this report.
Through their associations, truck drivers have embarked on sensitizing colleagues on the importance of getting vaccinated against COVID-19. This campaign is in line with a government call for the private sector to play a central role in changing the perception of the public towards vaccination.
Get a truck driver to talk to a fellow truck driver about anything, they are bound to listen to it more when you get a smartly dressed doctor going to truck drivers to talk about the same thing. Get vaccinated, you lose manpower. I am a fellow truck driver, I'm vaccinated. It is not true that when you vaccinate, you die. So this was very important for the fellow community members to go to their fellow drivers.
With the support from the Private Sector Foundation in Uganda, different vaccination points have been erected on border points and terminal parking grounds for trucks to enforce the vaccination exercise.
So when do a driver watch TV or listen to a radio? And even if they listen to a radio, they are in Sudan, they are in areas where the frequency is not good. So we decided to reach them out in areas where they park or their stopovers, so that we add on and emphasize that drivers should observe the standard operation procedures.
We have a fellow truck driver and we have a fellow commercial sex worker who is able to convince the peers and to always follow them up. So this is what we call the community-led approach. Because the drivers were asking so many questions, they were not willing to take the jabs.
Truck drivers are questioning the relevance of continuing to pay for testing despite finishing the vaccination with the 2 jabs. They appeal to the government to reconsider that condition on border points.
Decided to encourage our drivers to test, so that maybe government, with the time, with the East African community, they can allow drivers to move freely, provided they have tested, provided they have vaccinated for COVID, than every 14 days when they are spending money for the tests.
Afrika Mashariki yote tutambulike, ili tusiweze kulipa kila boda tunalipa $50. Kwa hiyo hizi document zinaonyesha kwamba hapa nimetoka, hapa ni Uganda na hii hapa ni Malawi, yote nalipa $50.
After 14 days we have to pay that money. Now the question is, we are going to be continuing paying that money after 14 days, whatever I have this certificate. That is my question.
This community-led approach of vaccination is projected to enable Uganda to meet the target of at least 4.8 million people vaccinated by the end of October. Abdul Nasser Luwama, UBC News.
And in the area of security, Uganda police has appealed to Ugandans to remain calm despite the terrorism advisory notes issued by the French and United Kingdom embassies to the citizens living in Uganda. Police spokesperson Fred Enanga says there is no threat levels yet to elevate security terrorism. Let's hear more.
Over the weekend, the United Kingdom and the French embassy released a caution to their citizens intending to come to Uganda and those already within to be vigilant following terror threats on striking Uganda. Uganda police has disregarded the advice, denying any form of terror threat levels to attract security elevation.
But I want to assure Ugandans that our counter-terrorism teams have, since 2010, thwarted several plots, both foreign and domestic, since the double attack of 2010, you remember. And in this very respect, we continue to review our security posture across the country, and we continue to maintain it as normal.
With the hunt for rebel groups antagonizing the country's peace, crackdown activities are ongoing, and a number of suspects from the regions of Kasese and Zombo are being held at SIU Kireka.
The suspects were being surveilled for months. They were tracked down to their hideout in one of the churches, that is the Church of Christ for the Latter-day Saints. And of course there was some bit of resistance when they realized that our task teams had rounded them up, and we managed to arrest 8 of them.
In another development, police is holding 2 border riders as prime suspects who engineered a mob that claimed the life of Aziz Bashir over the weekend.
Including the initial border rider who brushed the victim's car. He's on the run. Then there are also those who gave him a chase, because that was an act of incitement. Those who gave him a chase are also being targeted, and we are reviewing thoroughly the footages.
Fred Enanga has disowned victimizing Father Richard Mugisha of Bisanji over the death of a suspected thief. According to police, these investigations are not linked to politics.
That the investigation of the Reverend Father is an effort to witch hunt him or victimize him for his particular views about government and his recent previous stand on the elections is purely not true.
During the week, Uganda police registered 76 major incidents, which claimed 61 lives, arresting 46 suspects. Abdul Nasser Luwama and Lydia Chomukama for UBC News.
Now, with access to information, lack of knowledge and weak penalties have been cited as hindrances to implementing the Universal Access to Information Act 2005. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda grants every citizen the right to access information in possession of the state or any other organ. Bernard Yiga has more in this report.
In August this year, lawyer Hassan Kasim Malema Birizi wrote to the non-government organizations NGO Bureau seeking all information regarding the recent suspension of 54 local NGOs over alleged non-compliance with the laws in reference to the NGO Act of 2016. In a letter addressed to the Executive Director of the NGO Bureau, Stephen Okero, Mabirizi gave the Bureau up to 21 days to provide him with all the documents to prepare for both civil and criminal proceedings against the body.
Because I think that was illegal. I think it amounted to infringement of human rights because civic organizations is part of our human rights, our right to associate. Now, when you wake up and close them without due justification, then you as the executive director personally or your bureau will be held liable. But now I need evidence to lay before court that, look here, these people breached the law.
The bureau failed to comply with the request and Mabirizi went to court.
But again, to comply with that act and take them to the Chief Magistrate's Court of Mengo to compel them to give me the documents. But again, the first thing is for court to pronounce that it was illegal for them to fail to respond to me within the 21 days.
Article 41 of the Constitution, Sections 3, 5 and 34 of the Access to Information Act 2005 grants every citizen a right to access information in possession of the state or any other organ.
If you just see the news on UBC that today they have signed an agreement, today the Russians have come. I need to see the details that what did this Russians sign.
Under the law, Mabirizi has sued different government agencies for failing to access information, among which is Makerere University, and the latest being Uganda National Oil Company Limited and National Pipeline Company Limited.
Maybe, I think Electoral Commission is the one which complied as in a record time. When I asked last year, when I asked for Chagulanyi's academic nomination papers for Wachiso, even UNEB tried. When I asked for Chagulanyi's academic papers, even UNEB responded. I think within 3 days. I think it was a maximum a week. They just told me, pay the 20, I paid, I filled the form, then they gave me the documents. But others have been adamant. Makere gave me Chagulanyi's papers, but after taking them to Mengo Court.
Mabirizi cites corruption in public offices as one of the hindrances to implementing the Access to Information Act.
And the reason why the entire world puts emphasis on access to information is that's the only way you can fight corruption. An ignorant population cannot fight corruption.
In an interview with UBC TV, the Executive Director, Africa Freedom of Information Center, Gilbert Sendugwa, said the Access to Information Act, which was passed into law in 2005 and the regulations in 2011, is a good law if well respected.
To empower citizens to hold officials accountable and to protect whistleblowers, among others. So the law therefore provides an important framework through which citizens can engage the government for government to perform better. The problem that we have is that many officers do not respect the law.
While speaking at a public dialogue to commemorate the 2021 International Day for Universal Access to Information, the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, called for post-legislative scrutiny of the law to check its relevance to the public.
Of what benefit has it been to the ordinary person, this law?
There are consequences for people who falsify records, who destroy records, who hide records. But for an officer who is mandated to provide information when requested, when they don't do that, there hasn't been serious consequences. And this means that the law should be either amended.
Then on the part of Ugandans, you continue applying for information. Every time you get a sense of doubt, you apply. So I want that PS to have 50 applications for access to information. Let's keep on applying. You apply, they refuse, you sue them. Then after some time they learn that actually, you see, this is the culture which must grow in a democracy, that information is our information.
Bernard Higa, UBC News.
Thank you very much there, Bernard Iga. And of course, 25 minutes past 8 o'clock. We close with that story. We go for a short break. We do return with more news tonight.
I smile when I think of you, Uganda, my home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda, my home. Oh, my Uganda.
I know, with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together, my home. On my heart, mommy, oh my Uganda.
Hey, mama. At MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Vaccinated today so we can get closer to the normal way of life. Echa COVID-19 chija kugwa.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94# to activate a 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94# to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial *175# and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV value. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Welcome back from that short break. News Tonight continues. Now, the retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba has written to petition the Constitution, challenging the President's proposal opposing the grant of bail to capital offense offenders and the sentence of life imprisonment. Professor Kanyehamba, who is opposing the President's proposal, says by amending the bail and life imprisonment law, this will conflict with the international law and norms, including violating the human rights.
Ever since President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni expressed his move on opposing the law
of granting bail to capital offence offenders and the sentence of life imprisonment, the public has come out with different opinions. Emeritus Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyaihamba has also joined the public to express his opinion on the issue of bail.
I have not been influenced by any political party. I have never belonged to any political party, although previously I supported the UBC when I was a schoolboy.
According to Professor Kanyaihamba, abolishing the bail law, this will be an infringement on the rights of Ugandans and the freedom guaranteed under the Constitution.
I have come here to use our power under the Constitution. So the mayor of Kampala have gone by the wayside and they have decided to have a caucus meeting and come up with a law that will modify and deny ordinary suspects, innocent people, the right to apply for bail. That is what I am here.
One of the reasons of granting bail is to decongest our prisons. Our prisons are congested. Now, when you remove bail, you have nowhere to put people. And when you remove bail, even the police bond, it means it will be done away with.
This has prompted Professor Kanyaihamba, through his legal team led by Arias Lukwago, Peter Walubiri and others, to show his intention of petitioning Constitutional Court over this matter.
Any person who claims that a fundamental other right of freedom guaranteed under this Constitution has been infringed or threatened is entitled to apply to a competent court for redress, which may include compensation.
Professor Kanyaihamba also had reservations on how some issues are discussed in Parliament and Cabinet, which he says are likely to lead the country into distress.
But those numbers, those caucuses, are obtained by corruption, by bribes, you know that. We've had so many by challenges.
But what do other independent lawyers say about the move?
I don't see the need to remove bail because removing bail is touching everyone's fundamental right. You have seen various instances where many people have been arrested without offense. They take you after 1 or 2, 3 months, the DPP comes and says, I've withdrawn the case.
I'll follow the law because our duty is to follow. We are there to follow the law as it is. So if it changes and it provides that there will not be any bail granted, it will be followed.
In his proposal, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni also disagrees with the penalty of life imprisonment to offenders and convicts on capital offences. However, the judiciary clarifies on this matter and its genesis.
A person who has been sentenced to death and who has not been executed within 3 years after the sentence has been confirmed, that person's sentence will turn into life imprisonment. It was later decided again by the Constitutional Court that life imprisonment means the rest of the life in prison. So it's easy to mean 20 years, but it means the person is to spend the rest of his or her life.
The proposal, which is still under public debate, will also have to be approved by other stakeholders, including Cabinet, after which it will be assented to President Deborah Namamonde. Nantongo Rebecca, UBC News.
Thank you very much, Deborah Namamonde. Now, the chairperson Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Biabakama, says that the commission will be holding another batch of elections at different levels starting this December across the country. Biabakama made these revelations while dispatching off a fleet of vehicles and motorbikes to the regional and district election officials at the event held in Banda, Kampala. Our reporter Robert Onyango has more.
Although the 2021 general elections are an event of the past, however, there are pending exercises to be conducted in 110 districts.
The others where nominations did not take place for one reason or another. The others where we had a few errors in the ballot papers where the printers mismatched the names and the photos. So all these things required us to conduct these by-elections in a time so that these areas have political leadership, have representation at sub-county or district level or division level. So that's why we organize these elections in 110 districts of the country.
According to the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Byabakama, political parties and players have been notified about this particular exercise. Byabakama also revealed that there will be a lower-level election come 2023.
LC1, LC2 chairpersons or committees were elected in office in 2018. And under the Local Government Act, their term is a five-year term, which means it expires in 2023. As a commission, therefore, we are already in the process of starting preparations for those elections. Remember, for LC1, LC2 elections, the constituency is the village. Every village is a constituency on its own. And therefore, we have to conduct elections in every village is a constituency and also a polling station. So elections have to take place in all the 70,000. So the earlier we start, the better.
But what about in the areas where the courts of law have annulled the outcomes of the just concluded electoral results?
Since this is the first trial court, and the person whose victory has been annulled or cancelled has a right of appeal. Let us wait and see whether these people will appeal or not, and that's when we can decide how many by-elections we are going to have.
Flanked by his support staff, Justice Simon Byabakama was presiding over a 132 vehicle and 21 motorbike fleet dispatched to regional and district offices.
Today, as we hand over the new vehicles, each vehicle has the following items. There's a jack, there's a wheel spanner, a spare wheel, rim and tire, movement logbook, fire extinguishers, and the vehicle owner's manuals.
You remember when we were launching the dispatch of polling materials from here, you saw the number of vehicles that we had. We even had to hire private vehicles. We had private vehicles because the commission cannot have enough fleet of its own to deliver materials in all parts of the country, in a general election, that is. So we think that these vehicles are going to play a very important role. One, in the by-elections we are going to have in 110 districts in December. Two, in the LC1, LC2 elections we are going to have in 2023. Three, in the preparations for the 2025-2026 general elections.
For such and other elections coming ahead, the Commission refers to this dispatch as timely and one which will save the Commission hundreds of monies. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Now, it is 10 years since the Libyan leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi was killed by the Western and European-backed forces of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. What some Libyans celebrated as the end of a dictator turned out to be one of the worst moments of this country. Our reporter Henry Okurut explores what Africans can learn from such an experience.
On 20th October 2011, this not-so-good quality video clip popped up on YouTube, one of the most popular social media video sites in the world. Anyone who was familiar with the happenings in Libya at the time would quickly click that the country's president was probably toppled, if not assassinated.
There's no hiding the jubilation in Tripoli. Scenes repeated again and again across Libya overnight.
Indeed, moments later, news on mainstream international media was awash with the information about Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's overthrow and death.
3, 2, 1, Gaddafi has gone!
Seemingly in a celebratory mood, some Libyans took to the streets to rejoice the death of a man they described as a dictator.
The new government is consolidating the control over the country, and one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more.
But was he?
The situation in Libya was created by the arrogant and irresponsible actions of some actors that took actions that were against the express position of the African Union.
This was Uganda's president, Yoweri Tibuhaburwa Kaguta Museveni.
I, Yoweri Tibuhaburwa Kaguta Museveni.
He had just taken oath as Uganda's president for another 5 years, a term that runs from May 2021 to May 2026. In his remarks, he was concerned that Libya's President Colonel Muammar Gaddafi did not fight back, even when some African leaders were willing to help.
Although at that time I did not have direct link with Muammar Gaddafi, I advised his envoy, who came to see me here, to turn Tripoli into a Stalingrad. With H.E. Jacob Zuma, we had to work out a solution for the aircrafts and cruise missiles that some people use to attack defenseless people from far away, so that if the aggressors so wished, could come on the ground and we fight man to man.
The end result of this non-resistance was the toppling of a regime that had been in existence for 42 years, and the unfortunate bit, the president, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, was assassinated in cold blood in October 2011. 10 years later, what originally was disguised as a fight for democracy ended up sinking deeper, Libya's growing political leadership.
And since then, the project of African unity, a project of United States of Africa, is sounded by a few. Sounded by a few, like President Museveni, and he's talking about Pan-Africanism, his African integration, and seriously, but others have kept quiet.
He had taken the welfare of his citizens very seriously, because the citizens of Libya were getting free housing, free electricity, free education, and he had turned Libya into a welfare state.
At the time of his death, Gaddafi had led Libya as its president for 42 years. But to what extent did the aggressors solve the political question and economic challenges in Libya?
They never solved any problem. They can only say that they stopped Gaddafi from creating a monarchy in Libya. That's all. But they did not solve any problem. We see Libya, which was a prosperous country, becoming an unstable nation.
The West had allies within Libya because there were many Libyans who were discontented by the way Gaddafi handled their politics, by the way Gaddafi used their resources. And once you have that division within, any enemy of yours will take opportunity, even for very useless reasons, and destroy you.
Originally perceived to be a fight for democracy, the war in Libya tore the country into pieces. It is reported that Libyans are now pleading with the former leader's son to come and lead the country. But just in case it is true, how possible or sustainable is it?
Solutions come from inside the problem. If you don't have internal defense, if you don't have internal leaders, you can't get leaders from outside. It's not because you are a son of Gaddafi that you will come and unite the country. You must know what it means, what leadership entails.
Had Gaddafi prepared a very good transition where leaders would have democratically made a replacement for him, in 10 years, the son of Gaddafi would be coming now. Like how Uhuru Kenyatta came after his father, after 10 years. We now have a very good leader in Uhuru Kenyatta in Kenya, who is preparing to give leadership to another person who is not his son.
Political transition or not, transitional leadership or otherwise, what lessons are there for Africans to learn from the Libyan experience?
It was not that Gaddafi was weak. No, he was a very strong man. He had money, he had resources, he had equipment. But fundamental principles of life, you cannot change it.
Lessons may be learned, but at the level of the African Union, what could be some of the lasting remedies?
If we are having AU, how I wish we could have a constitution of the African Union, which is like the constitution of the United States of America, where we know that all the states within Africa will comply to the governance constitution.
We must, where we can, build a center of gravity for the African race.
The Libyan revolution erupted on 17th February 2011, 2 days after protests in Benghazi that saw security clash with the crowd, reportedly leading to some deaths. The protests later escalated into a rebellion that spread across the country, and with support from the West, with European-backed forces, Gaddafi was ousted and killed. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Kuletedde MTN Kabode esimu ya smart gy'osobola okwefunira olwo n'ogisasula mpola nkugambye yeno eri eya kabi ate nga tamanyi endala zonna mu katale ejjirako omuggo gwa yintaneti kati ky'oba okola gwenyiga *655*2 okebere oba osobola okwefunira MTN Kabode olumala okebera bw'oti dduka buddusi ku dduka lya MTN lyonna eri kuli okumpi weefunire MTN Kabode olwo olyoka ogisasule mpola ng'osasula nusu 15,000 zokka buli wiiki okumala emyezi 6 ng'okozesa MTN Momo weefunire Kabode kati dish.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly. Until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV value. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175*94# to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Dial star 175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back from that short break. News Tonight once again continues. Now, over 16 cattle rustlers have been arrested on account of stealing 47 livestock from the Payan community of the Nabila Tuk and Boroka of Napak. Apparently, UPDF has impounded over 1,700 livestock belonging to the Matheniko community of Moroto, as we hear more in this report.
To have the identification exercise conducted failed following a scuffle that ensued engineered by the Mathiano and left 5 people critically injured. The elusive Mathiano community have 1,700 livestock impounded by the UPDF. To avoid a resurgence of violence, the 3rd Division Commander, Brigadier General Balikudembe, first issued strict guidelines to both the leaders and the locals from the Mathenik of Moroto, Bokor of Napak, and PN of Nabila Tuk before conducting the identification exercise.
If you have come here to cause trouble, then trouble will trouble you.
Later, the identification was conducted and culprits, especially women, pleaded for innocence. However, in the course of the operation, 16 people were in possession of the stolen livestock and were handed over to police for safe custody, awaiting charges.
16, and these ones will be charged of murder because during the raid, some people were killed. Therefore, they will answer for the killing.
Leaders from Moroto and Napak districts want security to carry on similar activities across Karamoja to eliminate cattle theft.
It's going to continue. Let us not give a gap. Can we do it very fast for everywhere? Exactly. So that this Karimojong will feel the pinch. Exactly. They will see what is happening and maybe they will sit down. So if we relax, it means we are giving them room to do anything. Exactly. We are not happy, people are dying.
Don't become tired. Continue beginning from today. Arresting, doing this exercise, I think we shall end this kind of act.
However, the woman representative, Loptak sub-county in Moroto, Rose Adelo Loke, is blaming the fellow Karamojongs for wasting government resources on cattle rusting.
Government is wasting fuel. Instead of doing that money for fuel, doing for something else to develop our region. She's right. Helicopters are moving and we are here saying
The 3rd Division Commander, Joseph Balikudembe, warned Karamajongs to refrain from committing such acts.
I had 5, but now I'm counting 30, 50. And then everybody is keeping quiet. We shall pounding of cows. It will be taken to a district which is claiming that they were aggrieved by the other party.
In the period of 5 months, Napak district lost 2,600 heads of cattle, 4,500 goats and sheep, and 20 people were killed during the raiding.
Now, medical experts have associated the retardation in neurological surgery to less importation of gloves due to the COVID-19. The executive director, Mulago Hospital, Biarugaba Baterana, made these revelations while receiving surgical gloves made by the East African Medical Vitals to help the hospital in carrying out surgeries.
The increasing cases of patients in need of brain tumor treatment has prompted Mulago Hospital to organize a surgical camp to reduce on numbers. The director, Mulago Hospital, Byarugaba Baterana, says there is a medical team to help patients with neuro patients and attributed an increase of these cases to border accidents. In support of the neurological medical camp, East African Medical Vitals has donated over 1,000 gloves to help in the exercise.
So once you are working with the Supreme Court of Medicine, you know we are working with the topmost of the top of the medical cadres or the top of the medical specialty in this country. And once we say what your products are very good, then actually to the others they are excellent. And that's where they are tremendous. So keep up the spirit. As we always say, when we call you in terms of need, please keep coming. And we are going to make sure when we use them, we'll give you our views about your products. And these views of ours may proceed also to national medical stores and other areas that the Supreme Court of Medicine used your gloves, and they were very good.
The Executive Director, East African Medical Vitals, Brian Kavia, says it's time to embrace their gloves because of their quality.
We were so glad to be associated with Mulago Hospital, and then more particularly with this wonderful idea of a camp, a neurosurgical camp for clearing up the backlog. We are set up to facilitate medicine in our country and in East Africa, and so today we have brought both surgical examination gloves and surgical and examination gloves for handover to the facility.
Dr. Rosemary Byanyima, the Deputy Executive Director, Mulago Hospital, says many non-emergency cases are piled, hence organizing the neurosurgery camp.
There are some complications, of course, we expect. When you heal, you leave a scar. The scar in the brain, you do not know how it will behave, but at least they'll have relieved the brain of those tumors. Some of those tumors may be cancerous. Some of them may be what we call benign tumors. So when you relieve the pressure out of the brain expands and we expect good outcomes. So case by case, we pray that we get good outcomes.
The operation is to be carried out for 2 weeks to clear the case backlog. Sudat Kaye, UBC.
Well, thank you very much there, Sudat Akaye. Now over to Kumba University. The Industrial High Court has set 23rd November 2021 for Kumba University to conclude with the mediation with its former employees who dragged the university to courts of law over alleged illegal termination of their contracts as employees. Over 40 former employees of Kumba University filed a suit against the university claiming illegal termination of their contracts without clear reasons, which they say it is against the rules governing employees in accordance to the Employment Act. The case was before Judge Linda Lillian Tumsime-Mugisha, as we hear more in this report.
The alleged illegal termination of their contracts on 23rd August 2019, this prompted 14 Kumba University employees to drag the university to courts of law. Monday morning, the claimants appeared before Judge Linda Lillian Tumsime-Mugisha at the Industrial High Court in Ntinda to kickstart the hearing of the case. Although the case hearing was set for today, however, it failed when Kumba University legal team asked court to have this matter settled outside court through mediation, which court granted.
We even met them sometime. We met them sometime 1 month ago and said, what is your offer? It was not acceptable to us. They are not willing to pay any damages. They are not willing to pay any, even their period of calculation is wrong.
The claimants in court were represented by lawyer Henry Biansi, who did not object to the defense's prayers.
Kumba University purportedly conducted a collective termination. It terminated more than 10 people in a space of less than 3 months without following due process as required under the Employment Act. It never gave notice to the labor officer or the commissioner of labor. It never paid the entitlements and neither did it give them notice. No consultations. They just woke up in the morning and they were chased out of the university.
The presiding judge, Linda Lee and Tomusime Mugisha, directed parties to return to court on the 23rd of November 2021 when means of mediation failed. Henry Biansi highlighted the claimants' prayers to court, including compensating them with aggravated damages, general damages, and unfair dismissal, among others.
The university has, at several occasions, attempted to settle, but it does not live to its word. It preaches water and takes wine. So we are also worried that they might not be able to fulfill their word as given to court.
The aggrieved former employees of Kumba University disclosed their dismay towards the university, leading to the termination of their contracts without a genuine reason.
Yes, if anybody would like to be in mediation, I think we have told a lot. We started with the labor office in Wakiso 3 times, they did not appear. Okay. Then we came to this court here 3 times, they did not come. Okay, so when the mediation was closed here, Kumba University now comes up.
Natong Rebecca, Namamote Deborah, UBC News.
Now, as we turn to business, Lera district in the recent months suffered from water shortage. The challenge is attributed to the rising water levels in Lake Kwanya, which has disrupted water treatment and distribution at the main plant in Kachum. Now, to tackle the problem, Umeme is to upgrade the network from wooden poles to concrete, in addition to relocating the electricity network.
The 2 kilometers power network, which was once easily accessible and constructed on dry land, is now waterlogged.
This lake also has some history of some crocodiles, which are dangerous to human beings.
Although the Umeme network engineers have been provided with canoes to sort out the power supply issue at the Kachum treatment plant, an urgent and amicable solution is required.
We are going to be giving them power. That is 100%. But we are changing the mode of the network. We are changing from wooden poles to concrete poles, and also relocating this network to some dry area. So if that is done 100%, they will have reliability.
We did a lot of protection by building retaining walls. We constructed big retaining walls of about 6 meters, 4 meters. But all those those structures, from where water never used to be, where we put a 6-meter retaining wall, right now it is swallowed completely.
Lira district consumes about 10 million liters of water per day. However, currently, National Water and Sewerage Corporation can only manage to supply 7 million liters if power supply is stable, and on generators it drops further to about 3.5 million liters.
We are designing a second intake, but will not cross the other intake. It will remain there. This second intake, we are going to put it near the transformer. We're going to put it near the transformer. That's the first option. Put intake near the transformer. The second option is to lay the pipes from the lake and bring water here, somewhere at the place which is dry. Then we build the sump and the pump houses on top. Then so that we can pump the water, we can get it near the point which is safe. We are still designing that. We are going to check both options. We see the option which will give us the best results.
Water levels on Lake Kwanya started rising in April 2020, affecting the powerhouse treatment plant. It then weakened the base of the wooden poles, leading to collapse and water supply problems. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
And on the international scene, and on a sad note, Colin Powell, the son of a Jamaican immigrant who became a U.S. war hero and the first black Secretary of State, but saw his legacy tarnished when he made the case for war in Iraq in 2003. has died of COVID-19 complications. He was 84 years old. The retired 4-star general and former head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who served 4 presidents, made his reputation as a man of honor, distant from political fray and asset in the corridors of power. General Powell is an American hero, an American example, and a great American story, George W. Bush said as he announced Powell's nomination as Secretary of State in 2000. And in sports, Uganda Breweries Limited has added a major financial boost of 1 billion shillings as a reward to the players and support Star Times Uganda Premier League, which is the main source of players to the national football team, the Cranes. Ngabo Amon has more.
So football is one of the biggest sports in this country. And it is a loved sport in this country. It is played across the country, not only in Kampala. And specifically, Uganda Premier League is actually played across the country, where we have clubs from all over, from Toro, from Barara. Because of the current environment, most of the fans are not allowed to come and participate, watch their favorite teams. And we are saying we should be able to engage them. So there's going to be a place now, a challenge where you're going to predict and you win. So we want to ensure that we involve the fans into the league. We want them to love more of the league, but as they're enjoying the league, they should be able to win something.
Well, as we wind up our News Tonight bulletin, let's have that recap on our headlines. Lands Minister Judith Nawakoba refutes media claims on Uganda Land Commission.
Brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Judith Nawakoba refutes claims. Emeritus Justice George Kanyehamba's rates threatens to sue government. And on the international scene, former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell dies of COVID-19 complications. And in sports, Pilsner Lager injects 1 billion Ugandan shillings to boost the league.
Was brought to you by Everywhere You Go, MTN.
Thank you so much for being with us, and that's it from us. My name is Patricia Lukoma Mpango, and with sign language I was joined by Elizabeth Nakakuni. Thank you so much for being with us. Stay tuned.
Obulamu bwo program ekuleeteddwa ekitongole ky'ebyobulamu. Okumanya omubiri gwo, endya ennungi, ebyobulamu byonna, n'embeera ennungi. Tuula ntende ku program obulamu bwo.
Enkwaniriza mu program obulamu bwo, amannya n'eddoboozi nze